Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Foundation for Free Enterprise Education's Speaker Series. Today, I'm very excited to have with us Alan Norton. Alan serves as the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry's Workforce Development Executive. In this role, he is responsible for developing and implementing the organization's workforce program, which helps close the skills gap and trains the next generation to excel in 21st century jobs. Alan spent his first 2 years in the higher education field working with non-traditional students, and then he moved into the community and high school relations sphere where he focused on workforce development needs. For nearly 7 years, he promoted trade, technical, and health career programs as an admissions counselor with the Harrisburg Area Community College, otherwise known as HAC. He holds a bachelor's degree in business marketing from the University of Phoenix, as well as an associate's degree in communications from HAC. And he has been a board member with the Capital Regional Partnership for Career Development. Currently, Alan sits on the board of United Way of Pennsylvania and is an advisor to several school district Chapter 339 advisory councils. He also sits on the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education's Workforce Steering Committee and serves as co-chairs of the Barriers Committee on Governor Wolf's Keystone Economic Development and Workforce Command Center. In his spare time, Alan enjoys spending time with his wife, Heather, sons Wesley and Rourke, and 2 cats. Today, ladies and gentlemen, if you are on the fence about what you want to do for your career, or whether a 4-year college is good for you, or a technical school is good for you, or just don't even know where to start, this is the topic for you. Without any further ado, Alan, it's great to have you with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to the Foundation for hosting me. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. Well, listen, I know you have a PowerPoint presentation that's going to provide our viewers with a lot of information, so the floor is yours.
Great. I appreciate the opportunity, and you might actually see one of my cats pop in here.
That's the beauty of Zoom.
Zoom is great, isn't it?
Yep.
So I guess I'll start by answering the question, what is a chamber, so that the folks watching understand why we do what we do. As the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, we're basically the state's, I like to call it the organized voice of business. We have nearly 10,000 business members across the state from every sector of business. So we're the largest broad-based business advocacy group in Pennsylvania. And basically what we're interested in is ensuring Pennsylvania is a state where businesses want to stay and grow their companies and create great jobs for Pennsylvania residents. And so sometimes they get asked, why is workforce a part of that? Well, workforce isn't just a part of it. It's become our top advocacy issue. And on this slide, you can see our most recent economic surveys. Workforce is not only the key to attracting companies to a state and keeping companies there, but as you can see, based on our economic surveys from the past 2 years, that's become the number one concern of employers, not just in Pennsylvania, but across the nation, is where are we going to find the people to fill the jobs? We're going through an industrial revolution right now. And so the job market is changing, the economy is changing, how people get jobs and keep jobs is changing. But when you drill down in the numbers, what's interesting is the most recent survey, 39% cite technical issues, which makes sense because we're going through an industrial revolution, largely driven by digital skills and automation and robotics. But 52% cite employability skills, or what you might call social emotional skills or soft skills. We're trying to find someone who shows up on time every day, who doesn't have to be told to put their cell phone away, who communicates well, who works well as part of a team. That's actually a bigger issue than the technical technical skills. So we do have some barriers to addressing the skills gap. One of the barriers is 42 out of 67 counties are experiencing population declines. We only have an 82% labor participation rate among 25 to 54-year-olds in PAs. But I look at it as an opportunity. We have a great opportunity to, especially coming out of this pandemic, create equity of opportunity and really fill that skills gap equitably. That's the way I'm looking at it, as an opportunity. So to help create awareness among the state's youth population of what the job market looks like and why PA is a great place to stay and play, we created the Start the Conversation Here website almost 5 years ago. It's really a website full of tools and resources for students and job seekers to use to figure out what are the on-demand careers and how do I get there. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. What is the most in-demand careers and how do I get there? But I want to focus right now on why PA is a great place to stay and play, because I think that we're such a large state and we have so much to offer. If I'm a youth growing up in Harrisburg, I might not know what's going on in Pittsburgh or Philly or other parts of the states. So I'm going to give you my elevator speech on Pennsylvania quick. PA, we have one of the most dynamic economies in the nation. And if you look at our membership list, you'll see it's represented in our membership, just how diverse the economy here is in PA. We rank second in natural gas production, eighth in manufacturing. So a lot of products you buy are made in PA. We're a worldwide leader in agricultural, food, and lumber production. We are the nation's top mushroom producer, and we're affectionately known as the snack food capital of the world. Down in the Southeast is the sixth largest media market in the country. Philadelphia is also a strong eds and meds economy. Out in Pittsburgh, in the western part of the state, they're fast becoming not just Pennsylvania's major tech and biotech center, but they're quickly emerging as a major tech and biotech center in America. And we're also a major transportation hub because of where we're located and how we connect all the major large cities in the Northeast. So it really is a great amount of economic opportunity here in PA. And we really are a great state to call home. Now, one of the things, especially students growing up in Pennsylvania today, have facing them is there's multiple pathways into a career. There's multiple on and off ramps, and there's no right one. It's a very subjective decision depending on what the student's career interests are. So the world I grew up in, and I think one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, and probably the world you grew up in too, Scott, it was very rare someone asked me what I wanted to do for a career or what I was interested in doing for a career. But nearly every day someone asked me where I was going to college or what colleges I was looking at. Well, today, because we're going through an industrial revolution and there's so many on and off ramps now, instead of asking where you're going to college, the question should be, what do you want to do and how do you get there? And there's a lot of ways with technology to find out how you get there. If it is college, great. Now let's help you find a college that makes sense. But maybe it's an apprenticeship. Maybe it's attending a trade school or a community college. Maybe it's on-the-job training. But there's basically we're in a new economy and a new era. And what worked in the old era doesn't necessarily work today. How did we get here? Well, fast forward back when I was growing up and when Scott was growing up, there were more people than jobs. In 2008, the economy crashed. Actually, that crash created higher unemployment than this current one. We actually had about 6 unemployed folks for every job opening. Of course, we had a slow initially recovery, and then fast forward to 2018, the very beginning of 2018, suddenly there were more jobs than people to fill them. And we chugged along with more jobs than people to fill them for about 2 years, and then COVID hit. Interestingly, at the peak of COVID, we reached just under 5 people unemployed for each job opening. And we're very rapidly, as the economy in PA and across the nation recovers, we're very rapidly approaching that point again of having more jobs than people. Right now, last record was in November. We're sitting at about 1.4 unemployed folks per job opening. So we're moving back to that point where, okay, we're going to have more jobs than people again. So there's a lot of options out there to help folks learn about careers and get into a good career path. So for especially the younger folks watching, the students in high school and middle school, how do you make a decision with all of these options at your fingertips that you have to take advantage of? First, you have to arm yourself with the facts. So I'm going to give you a couple did you knows here. So I mentioned earlier, the world I grew up in, it was all about where you're going to college. That was the mark of success. We always did a good job of tracking who was going off to college, but we never really did a good job of tracking what happened after they were gone to college. And the reality is, when you look at the statistics, for every 100 students we send to a four-year university or traditional college, only 41 are actually graduating in that four-year time frame. 59 are making it to graduation, but it's taking them 6 years to do it. So now, instead of entering the workforce at 22 or 23, I'm entering the workforce at 24 or 25. I'm spending more because it's taking me longer to finish. So that means at some point along the way, about 41 students drop out. And as you can see, about 18 of them are taking that extra 2 years to finish. And there's a number of reasons for that. At the same time, there's a reason you hear so much about STEM and STEAM. It's because majors do matter. When you break that down even further, look at this. Students who are underemployed after completing a bachelor's degree. Where you're not seeing that are the students who pursued those STEM majors. If I'm interested in engineering, if I'm interested in a physical science or a health science, math, those students are going on and applying their degrees into the workforce. So basically, when you break it down, 34 out of every 100 students we send to university actually go on to use their degree or make a salary commensurate with their degree. The rest end up working in a job they could have taken without that degree. That's what underemployed means. I'm working in a career I didn't need to spend 4 years in school for. I got my degree, and now I came out and I took a job I could have gotten without this degree. So what we really need to focus on is those employability skills. And we're fortunate here in PA, we live in a state where career ready skills are measured at the K through 12 level. That's the social emotional part. But also we really have to prepare students to be lifelong learners. I think about the job market I grew up in. And even some of my friends who work at Google as a member, I'll use them as an example. Google didn't even exist when most of my friends who work there were in college. The job I do now, I didn't even know this was a thing when I was in high school and college. The internet wasn't a thing when I was in high school and college. So the job market's changing. So we have to prepare to be lifelong learners, because in reality, those social emotional skills are what is going to be transferable from job to job, but there's always going to be new details, new technologies I have to learn along the way, and adaptability is a key to that. So how do I choose the right post-secondary pathway? We're going to talk quickly about supply and demand first, because it is a business decision that you're making. So when you learned about supply and demand in business class, you probably learned how it affects wages. If there's a huge demand for a product, but not a lot of supply, the price for that product goes up. Well, it affects wages the same way. If there's a huge demand for a certain skill set in the workforce, but there's not a lot of folks with that skill set, you're going to see wages start to go up. That's what happens to wages when there's a high demand for skill, but not a lot of folks with that skill set. On the flip side, if there's a lot of folks with the same degree and the same skills, but there's not a lot of demand for that degree or that skill, wages are going to stagnate or go down. So think about supply and demand. And then also we're going to think about ROI, which stands for return on investment. And here I like to use a Shark Tank example. If you've ever watched the show Shark Tank, if Mark Cuban is in the Shark Tank and you come in with a great business idea and you say, I only need $250,000 to get this up to the next level and really take off. And Mark Cuban sees something in your business and he says, you know what? I got that $250,000. First of all, he's not giving anyone $250,000. If he did that, he would not be a billionaire. He's investing. And he's seeing that in maybe 3 years, I'll earn this $250,000 back from your business. And from that point forward, it's all profit. Well, the same thing is true of your education. It's going to be your first large investment. So you want to ensure that when you graduate from college, community college, tech school, whatever your option you choose, you earn that investment back as quickly as possible so that the the rest of your life can be profit. And here at the PA Chamber, through our foundation, we actually created a tool called the Career Calculator that I'm going to show you now. And this is really designed to help you understand the return on your educational investment. If I choose this college and this career, how long is it going to take me to get out of debt so that I can start living a good life? So I'm going to switch over to the Career Calculator now. Okay, so when you open the Career Calculator, it's letting you know this is just an estimate, but this can give you a snapshot of what your career income is going to be versus your education cost. So in this first drop-down box, you can choose from any number of careers, and what it's going to give you is the national median starting salary. That's really important because sometimes when you go to job websites, it gives you that median salary or average salary. We have to work a few years till you get to that point. There's a starting salary. And then since we're the PA Chamber, all the schools here are Pennsylvania schools. So if you pull a college out of the list, it's going to populate just the tuition. We made this very flexible. So for students who are getting scholarships, they can deduct those. If you're going to live on campus, of course, there's a room and board cost, so you can add that. And then you choose how long you're going to be at that school. And then these are the average loan terms right now for student loan. So I have actually some prepared scenarios to go through. But I hope you'll go out and play with this on your own and look at some different scenarios and see how that college decision and career decision really impact your future financials. And as we go through this, I'm going to overcome some myths that are out there. So the first one is healthcare practitioner demand. When you look at this and think about supply and demand, there's currently 1.2 million healthcare openings in America for which we don't have folks in the supply. So basically what this is saying is, if you look at all the students in healthcare programs at CTE schools, community colleges, university, or in their residency, and you look at all the healthcare job openings in America, there's still a gap of 1.2 million openings that we don't have folks in the pipeline for. So I'm going to tell you about a young lady named Mackenzie. Mackenzie's dad and I are actually friends, and she was a student of mine during my time at HAC. She came to HAC for medical sonography, which is a very in-demand healthcare role. It's a 2-year degree, as many health career roles are. And she's now working as a medical sonographer. So we'll use her scenario so you can see how the career calculator works. So if I go here and I type in diagnostic medical sonographer, what it's going to show me is right now the average starting salary for that job is about $53,000 a year. Now I already told you she went to HAC, so we'll choose HAC for this one. So we can get a pretty accurate snapshot of what her return on investment is going to be. So you can see it populates her tuition at HAC. She's there for 2 years. When I calculate this, what it's going to show you is this is your first year income. This is your total tuition for college. So she spent about $17,000 on her college, assuming tuition and student loan interest. She has to work about 5 months to earn back that $17,000. So 5 months is her return on investment time frame. Once she's worked 5 months, she's earned her educational investment back. What's even cooler is when you go down here a little bit, it shows you, assuming you borrow all that money to go to school, your student loan is going to be $140 a month. You still have almost $3,300 left at the end of the month to play with. So only 5% of her income is going towards student debt. So you can imagine if you plugged in a more expensive college or 2 more years of college, how that would impact this. So for the parents out there watching, I would say if you really want your students to move out of the house when they're young, you don't want to be supporting a 28, 29, and 30-year-old, please make them use this and use this with them so you can see how their college choices will impact their financial future. I liken it to, if I'm going to become an educator, a teacher, we know the starting salary for a teacher is what it is. There's no changing that starting salary. So whether I go do 2 years at a community college and 2 years at a state school, or I do all 4 years at a really expensive private school, I'm starting at that same starting salary. So what's the impact going to be on my future based on those college decisions? So hopefully, and I have one other example I want to show you. But really quick, when thinking about careers, I think it's also important students understand not just the role and the money, but also the work-life balance is important too. So I put these two together on purpose. Here in PA, of all the professions that require just an associate's degree, the highest demand is actually for dental hygienists, and their median salary in PA right now is about $68,000 a year. Starting salary is closer to what medical stenographer starts at. And according to Labor and Industry here in PA, we need almost 19,000 new RNs in the next 5 years just to keep pace with demand. So again, when you think about supply and demand, you're going to see the wages in these roles continue to go up and up and up because the supply just isn't there to meet the demand. But I also put these two together on purpose because they're very different work-life balances. They're not just different jobs, but if I'm a dental hygienist, dentist offices are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 business hours. There's no weekends, there's no holidays. If I work at a hospital, hospitals are 24/7, 365. They don't close for Christmas. They don't close for Thanksgiving. They don't close on the weekends or at midnight. So you have to think about those things too. What hours do I want to work? What kind of shift do I want to work? Now, my friend's daughter, Mackenzie, who was medical stenographer, her first shift was actually, she only worked 2 days a week. She worked 2 16-hour days. So hospitals do have some flexibility like that as well. I know my mom was a nurse while she was still working. She usually only worked 3 or 4 days a week, but she worked 12-hour days. So there is flexibility there too, but I want students to think about not just the money, the job, but what kind of hours are you going to work? Where are you going to work? All of these go into that decision making. Now, health careers aren't for everybody. I would be an awful nurse because I'm a sympathetic vomiter. Can't when you're a nurse. So let's talk about some of those other STEM careers that are really in demand. And here's another myth I want to overcome is the myth of automation and robotics. And you've probably seen even more about this in the news since COVID hit. But yes, as with every past industrial revolution, we are going to eliminate some jobs, mostly entry-level repetitive jobs that robots and automation systems can do. However, we're going to create almost twice as many new middle-skilled technical jobs. The robots don't just work themselves. They need to be programmed. We need folks in research and development who can make these systems bigger, better, faster, stronger as time goes on. Think about, I remember when the iPod came out, was it called an iPod in like 2002?
I still have one.
Do you? And
yeah,
then the iPhone,
I have it plugged into my car, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, your iPhone and your iPod and your camera and everything are one. But now the iPhone 12 is so much bigger, better, faster, stronger than the iPhone 1 was. But that's because we have folks in research and development who are figuring out, how do I make this bigger, better, faster, stronger? So let me tell you a story about a young lady named Jess who now works down at one of the snack food companies in Hanover. She was another student of mine at Hack. She came to Hack for mechatronics. Mechatronics is one of the most in-demand career paths here in PA. When you look at PA, the reason I focus on manufacturing and healthcare is right now, and for the past few years, they've been the top 2 employment areas. And even going through COVID, top 2 employment areas right now. We need folks who can fix the machines when they break down, reprogram them to do new tasks, things like that. So that's what mechatronics is. I honestly can say, before I went to work at the community college, had never heard of mechatronics. And now 9 years later, when I go into a high school classroom and I ask kids, how many of you have heard of mechatronics? Most of the time, no one raises their hands. Every once in a while, 1 or 2 kids raise their hand. So there's a disconnect because there's all of these mechatronic jobs. I said earlier, we rank 8th in manufacturing. Huge number of mechatronics jobs, but we're not doing a good enough job, apparently, of getting that information to the kids. So if you're interested in mechanics, if you're interested in how things work, fixing them when they break down, this could be a great career path for you. And I'm going to show you Jess's story on the career calculator. And what's interesting is when you look at mechatronics engineer on the career calculator, we talked about how in-demand health careers are right now. Look what happens. Look at that salary right now, $52,770. When I type in mechatronics engineer, now it's $53,730. It went up almost $1,000 a year because, again, supply and demand. As the demand grows for these folks, the wages are going to continue to grow. Let's choose another one of our community college partners here in PA. How about Montgomery? They're a member of the chamber. So again, if we look at Jess's situation, I went to a 2-year college for a mechatronics associate's degree, came out and started working. When I calculate that, return on investment is about the same, 5 months to earn back that just about $15,000 investment. Still have about $3,300 left. Now, the reason I use Jess's story is because she's someone who I'll never forget. When she came back to Hack, all excited, she accepted a job. There's 2 pieces of her story I want the students watching to hear. First, when she got hired at the interview, they said, the hiring manager said to her, because you don't have any real world experience yet, you only have your college degree, we can only pay you $24 an hour. Only $24 an hour. How many people hear that on their first job offer? I'm only going to pay you $24. Additionally, because of the way their facility works, there's overtime available on the weekends. So on Sundays, she can earn double time. That's $48 an hour. So how many of you listening or watching would give up an NFL Sunday to go make $48 an hour for a few hours? I know I would, right?
I would.
So, and that's a starting salary in this career path. So hopefully students will see this and go on and play with the career calculator and make good, not just career decisions, but post-secondary decisions as well. And there's a wealth of ways to get into manufacturing. If you're interested in going to a tech school or community college, you can do that. If you're interested in apprenticeship, there's apprenticeship options. So there's a lot of pathways into that. Other in-demand careers here in PA that just require an associate's degree or certification or can be done through apprenticeship. Electrical lineman, right now, actually, that's pretty close to the starting salary. Construction, huge number of construction jobs unfilled. Plumbers and electricians, we have a huge demand for folks. We all like when the lights work, and especially today, it's cold, it's snowing out. We like when the heater works. So these are skills. And trucking, we need, just to keep up with demand, almost 7,500 truckers in the next 6 years here in PA. So one of the things we've done here at the PA Chamber Foundation through our Start the Conversation Here initiative is we actually have partnered with the MicroWorks Foundation to offer scholarships to PA students who are interested in a career in the trades and going to school for that. Since 2016, when we started that partnership, thanks to generous donations from our business members, we've provided nearly $275,000 in work ethic scholarships to 112 Pennsylvania students entering the skilled trades here in the Commonwealth. So if you're thinking about going to a school here in Pennsylvania for the trades, whether it's community college or a Thaddeus Stevens or a Penn College of Technology, you can apply for this scholarship. The scholarship is actually open now, usually closes around the end of March, and that's at microworks.org. And we'd be excited to see you take advantage of that. Now, we've talked a lot about opportunities without a university degree. These are all schools that are members of the Chamber, all doing excellent work in workforce development. If you're interested in something that requires a 4-year degree like engineering, education, we have a huge need for teachers across the state right now. Computer science, cybersecurity, just to give you an idea, we ended 2019 with over 500,000 cybersecurity jobs open in America. So huge opportunities with digital skills. So I'm not saying don't go to a 4-year school. I'm saying be wise about your decision. Think about how the cost and the quality are going to impact your financial future. And we also have one other scholarship I'm interested in mentioning since we're talking about universities. We just launched this scholarship earlier this year with RT Environmental. So for any students who are watching who are interested in environmental science or environmental engineering, if you're planning on going to school for one of those, please do reach out to me. My contact information is down there, and I'll make sure you get a copy of the application. And again, this is for folks who are interested in environmental engineering or environmental science majors. And thank you guys for inviting me in today to be a part of the conversation. I hope this was insightful and enlightening. And thank you again for the opportunity, Scott. It was great sharing this information.
No, thank you, Alan. I mean, I'm quite frankly blown away. And I can't thank you enough for opening. I feel like you've given us the keys to the castle here. I wish I would have had this tool when I would have gone to school. I certainly wish my son would have had it. Um, I got a chemistry degree and I used it for 4 years. And then I went into printing, and now I'm with the Foundation for Free Enterprise Education. So, if you talk about a return on investment, it didn't pay off for me, even though I loved it at the time. My son, same thing. I mean, he went to RIT for computer engineering, found out that he really didn't like it, racked up a lot of debt, and lasted 2 years. And now he's looking for, tech work and computer. He's got mad computer skills. He'll eventually get there, but this might have been the game changer for him. So I would encourage all of our viewers to get on and connect with Alan, and certainly use this calculator. It is a fantastic tool. So that begs a question. I mean, I realize that everyone's an individual and everybody's circumstances are a little bit different, but over the course of your time with this whole thing, have you ever realized where like the sweet spot is, where that ROI ceases? In other words, when it doesn't make sense? I don't know, is it a 10-year payoff? Is it a 5-year payoff? Is it a 20-year payoff? I realize you can't answer, firmly, but can you give our viewers a little bit of insight as to where they have to approach that comfort level? Do you know what I mean?
And you're right, it is very subjective. Some families can afford a whole lot more than others, so it's very subjective. But typically when I'm in a classroom presenting or now virtually, what I use as a guide is 3 years. You want to see that. Obviously, if you're going into a trade program, it's going to be a lot shorter. But especially for our folks who are going off to university, you want to see. I wouldn't recommend more than 3 years for that return time. That's pretty much my rule of thumb.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I mean, you have to invest in your education. You have to invest in yourself to get where you want to go. But I think one of the cautionary tales that I would tell myself, and I would certainly tell my son and anybody else out there, is that your first job is not going to be your last job. I think the dynamic I'm an old guy. I'm going to be turning 60 this year, and I think the dynamic was I would have 3 to 4 jobs in my lifetime. Gone are the days when you would work 35, 40 years for a company, get the gold watch, and retire. I think nowadays the stat is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but I think most young people that are coming out of either college or high school right now will have anywhere between 15 and 25 jobs in their lifetime. And if you do the math on that, that's a job every 2 years.
And I'm glad you actually mentioned that, because it's important students understand that the career they're interested in isn't necessarily an end point, it's a pathway. I'll use my friend as an example who started her career as a nurse. This is a great example of how career pathway can work. So she as a working adult decided she wanted to go back to school to become a nurse. So what she did was she spent 1 year at a community college in a medical assisting program, graduated, took a job as a medical assistant at one of the major healthcare companies, and then said, now I want to go get my RN. Well, at that point, she was already working for one of the healthcare companies at hospital. They said, guess what? You want to do this? We'll pay 75% of this. So she went back to school for 2 more years, got her RN. It only cost her 1/4 of the cost of an associate's degree, because now someone else is investing in her. She didn't stop there. She got her RN, became an RN at the same hospital system. So now she has a guaranteed job for 2 years. She says, you know what? I want to go on and get more. They did require her, of course, to get her bachelor's degree to stay in the RN role. But once she finished that, she said, you know what? I want to be a nurse practitioner. Go back, get the master's degree. So now she paid for herself to do her medical assisting certificate. Her hospital system paid for the bulk of her associates in nursing, bachelor's in nursing, and master's in nursing. So she made it all the way to a master's degree, but only paid for that certificate and 1/4 of the rest of her education because her employer invested in her. And guess what? Every time she got to that next level, when she got to that RN, now the employer who paid for the bulk of it gave her a raise. When she went from RN to nurse practitioner, that was almost double the salary. So now the company that invested in her to get that extra education invested in her with almost double the salary. So
Yeah.
there are people out there who will invest in your education. And so you don't have to take that all on yourself. Absolutely. It's a pathway. Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely mind-blowing. I am just so grateful that you, again, have given us the keys to the castle, given our viewers the keys to the castle here. Ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you to, look at the Work Ethic Scholarship Program, connect with Alan in the PA Chamber, find out what you can do to maximize that return on investment. Look at MicroWorks Foundation. Look at everything that these folks are involved in. There are fantastic opportunities in Pennsylvania. Don't listen to what anybody else says. This is your individual path. You take charge of your own life. And because of Alan today, you're going to be able to do it. So Alan, once again, thank you so much. I am just so grateful that you came here with us today and gave us this information. It is pure gold.
Oh, thank you, Scott. You're too kind. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was great talking.
Wonderful. Well, listen, have a great week. Don't shovel too hard, and we'll talk to you down the road. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you, Scott. Enjoy your day.
All right.